Welcome to another episode of Hashtag Agency Life. And on today's show, we have the young, the handsome Mr. Pete of the Everitt. How are you?
You are very, very kind. And it is a while since I've heard your dulcet tones talking to me through the airwaves.
Through the airwaves, yes. Although we've just had a long conversation about how awful my internet is at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah.
And you're pulling 60 odd meg, which is not fast for the Americans who are pulling a gigabit, but still faster than mine, because at one point I was getting 6 meg. So hopefully we will be able to do this and it will be wonderful. So shall we do it? Shall we go for it?
Let's go for it. I'm ready when you are. And probably speed is of the essence.
What, in case the internet goes down?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right then. So let's start with the very first question. We're going to learn about you. Tell us the name of your agency and what it is you do.
My agency is called So Digital Communications, and we are actually half of a bigger company called the So Agency Group, which consists of a branding and sort of creative side, and then the digital side, which is my baby. And we work with clients to basically help them achieve their goals online. So looking at what their business objectives are, looking at their business processes, deep diving a little bit more into their business, and then actually identifying what are the problems we could solve that would make the biggest improvement to their business, to their revenue, to their return on investment.
I like it. It feels like you've said that a few times, because that just rolled off the tongue there.
Just once or twice.
Just once or twice. In networking meetings and all of the above. All right, so we're going to have a birthday party. Maybe it's going to be a barbecue outside. I think you like barbecue, so it's got to be outside as well. You're definitely an outdoorsy sort of guy. We've got some beers and all of that sort of stuff. When is your agency's birthday?
Our agency's birthday is on November the 29th, and we would be coming up to 2 years old for the digital side of the business. The branding and communication side of the business was set up about 4.5 years ago, so that's a little bit older and a little bit more established.
So that's the daddy, and your digital business is the digital baby, quite literally.
No, I'm not the baby. You know what?
You're very baby-faced as well.
You know what? I can't aspire to the beard that gentlemen such as yourself managed to grow, because I haven't reached that stage of puberty yet. But if I do shave my stubble off, I do look like I'm 12, which is why my wife insists I keep it.
I get you. No, that makes perfect sense. And if people see pictures of your sons and that, they can see that they look exactly like you.
Hey, save me on the DNA test.
So cute. So cute. But let's focus. Let's focus, because I'm not very good at focusing. Neither me or you are. We go off on tangents all the time. So let's talk about your setup. And I guess it's the setup of the So Group as well as the digital wing that you spearhead. How many people are there across the So Group?
So there's 4 of us in total that are employed by the businesses, and then we have a network of subcontractors that we use. In total, if we have everybody working on a big project, there'd be 11 of us in total.
Wow. So, but that would be with all the subcontractors and everyone involved.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
Cool. And then do you have an offices, or are you all from home virtual setup?
We have 2 offices. So I'm based in Sheffield in the UK, and Steve, my business partner who runs the branding side of the group, he's based in Margate in Kent, which is just out. It's on that sticky bit out of England, just east of London.
Yeah.
And then we have, is it that way?
Is it that way? That way?
Whichever way. Anyway.
The but part
yeah. That's the one.
Yeah.
And he's going to really love us for saying that. And then the subcontractors are throughout the country. So they're actually largely based around the Midlands-ish kind of area, but that's we're a virtual team with 2 offices.
And you have, slightly off topic, but you've got customers all around the place, because you actually have a client that you regularly visit just down the road from our office as well. So me and you get to meet up in person, which is pretty darn awesome, and have coffees and do selfies.
We do indeed. It's great fun, and it's it sort of, it's We've always taken the stance, when it comes to the client side of things, we've always taken the stance of, you know what, we want to do a good job for you. We want to show you service. Our business ethos is about how we can help you and how we can have, I know we're going to touch on some of this stuff later, but the travel element to us has never been an issue.
Yeah.
But when I can then come and then meet guys like yourself and build bridges which aren't, there's something about being in business which is more than the client stuff, more than the tactical stuff that you do, and actually being able to connect with guys like yourself and then break down those physical barriers, and actually, rather than doing it over Zoom's great, but actually if we can sit and have a coffee for half an hour and just chew the fat about life, and you've been going through some stuff this year, I've been going through some stuff this year, and just to be able to sit there and say, you know what, we're going to have 20 minutes, half an hour where we can just be Pete and Lee rather than Pete the business owner and Lee the business owner.
Yeah.
For me, that's part of what being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is about.
Absolutely. And I love that you can do that with the travel. I think quite a lot of us will often just go and see the client and then go home. But if you can meet up with anyone as well and get that extra kind of feedback loop, as it were, it's really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your team, then you've got 4 employees. You've also got the contractors. So you're scalable, which is great. So as and when the bigger projects come in, your team grows, etc. It's a good model. Could you describe the team culture that you guys have developed over the last 4.5 years?
So we're very much set up to be a lifestyle family business, and that's we've all had corporate jobs in bigger agencies where we've been running against the grindstone to churn out work, get the invoices out, you get on that hamster wheel.
Yep.
And we've all made a conscious decision to move away from that. So the 4 of us that are actually employed by the business are myself and my business partner Steve and our 2 wives. So we have this family type culture.
Yeah.
We sort of take even with the subcontractors we use, we take the stance of, you know what, we don't really care when you work, as long as that there's a deadline on that day or you've got a meeting then, as long as you show up and the work's done when it's supposed to be done and it's of the standard that we want, then you fit it around your life. We don't track when people have dentist appointments. We don't track when people are going off to the doctors. I've just been on a kind of 3-week holiday and it was awesome. But I never would have been able to do that through the summer months in my previous job because everybody was fighting over the same bit of holiday and all of that kind of stuff. It kind of ebbs and flows, and that's the culture that we try to instill. We also understand that there are times when we all have to deliver over and above, and sometimes we end up doing late nights or early mornings or whatever. But then we try and balance that out with the other side of things where it can be a bit more easygoing and, you know what, you've done half a day today. So what? Just go and enjoy some time with your kids. It's fine. I
love it. That's a great culture. Let's talk about then it's kind of your mission. So what your focus is, you've obviously, your mission internally is to ensure that everyone has good family life, a good work-life balance, etc. But also you're not scared to go ahead and do the work when you need to. So pizza nights or really early rises. But you doing all that, I want to just unpack your mission a little bit. Do you have a particular industry or a particular niche? That niche could be a type of service, or it could be in a group of people that you serve.
So as an agency, we tend to focus particularly within the education sector. That goes back to Steve and I actually used to work together at a previous agency about 10 years ago.
Back in day,
when I was a young whippersnapper.
When I were a lad. We should remember to link to the Yorkshireman skit, shouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So we used to, and that agency really did focus on education quite heavily. We try and focus there. We're obviously, particularly from a digital side of things, we're still quite young, so we do have a broader spectrum, and we're trying to niche down a little. It's largely education stroke business to business type clients that we are working with, however.
That's awesome. And folks, you can listen to an entire episode where we drill Pete for all of the knowledge that he has, and he talks about some really cool stuff that he does with those higher education clients, and also how he puts his proposals together. So no more spoilers, but be sure to go to agencytrailblazer.com, go to the podcast section, tap in Pete Everitt, and you will find his episodes. This guy is always dropping knowledge bombs. Actually, I would also recommend you go check out his own podcast, which is
PeteEveritt.com/podcast. It is the Marketing Development Podcast, and you can search for that on Facebook or iTunes or your favorite podcast player.
I like that. It feels like you've said that multiple times as well. That was absolutely beautiful. And the cover artwork was actually, I believe, you used the picture I took of you when you were hanging out at our office a few months ago.
Yeah, I still haven't had proper headshots done, so I'm using
proper headshots. That was a perfect picture. You look.
Yeah, absolutely. It was literally we turned up for a coffee. I showed you the initial logo, didn't I? Which was absolutely shocking.
Oh no, I think I told you that, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I was a bit honest. I'm sorry, mate.
You are as blunt as a breeze block.
Thank you.
And and you said, "Hey, stand there in front of that screen." So we didn't. If you see it now, I can't remember whether I'm in front of a grey thing or
you're in front of the green screen.
Right. Yeah. But so we've dropped the background in behind that. But yeah, that is the photograph that you took.
Awesome. All right. Back to the mission then, because that was definitely one of our tangents. What is the main problem that you feel like you solve as a business for your clients?
If I was to put it into one sentence, if we're doing this as quick fire, it is to look at the return on investment that a client can achieve from digital.
Right.
If I'm to expand on that a little bit, it is we don't have one model that fits every client. Mm-hmm. Our approach is to go in and talk about the clients, about their business, about their marketing objectives, about what they're currently doing, about their business process, and then build a strategy around that can either increase revenue, increase efficiency to produce more revenue for what they're currently doing, or change what they're currently doing to make it more profitable for them.
So in an even shorter sentence, you help clients achieve their goals.
In an even shorter sentence, yes, that would be right.
Just making sure I understood that. And you would do that by putting in strategies in place. And with regards to the return on investment, that means you're very heavily focused on looking at the data, looking at what you're doing and tracking whether the actions that you've helped your client take have actually either achieved those goals or at least paid for themselves. So you're very data orientated. Would that be?
That's exactly it. And the approach we take, or the software that we use, or the way we approach that depends on whether it's a lead generation type client like a university, or a revenue generating client like an e-commerce website, for example.
And even though everybody's different, I presume that you have some pretty good case studies as well that you can use to clients. So as you're approaching new projects, etc., you can show, okay, the client engaged in this activity, this was the price, and this was the return on that investment, which kind of proves that the model of if we do something, we can then achieve return. And that's I assume that's quite useful, therefore, in your sales process or your onboarding process.
Yeah, absolutely. Although part of that is to educate the client so that they understand that you don't jump from here to there, but that it's a curve, and that actually for the first little bit of time that we're working with you, we're going to be potentially correcting things that may have not a negative impact on your business, but may still flatline for a short time after you start working with us, and then we start picking up the increase. So it's there's definitely been an educational need from having conversations with clients where we've said, look, you've been working with us for 4 days and we haven't seen an improvement in our ROI. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
So
that's helpful. So it's good for expectation setting, education, etc., as well as sales. That's wicked. Oh, thanks for that. I like it. Well, let's talk about marketing. You're a 4.5-year-old business overall. How do you folks generate leads?
This is one of our biggest challenges as well when we come to the next section, which is
spoiler alert,
absolutely useless at marketing ourselves.
Okay.
Most of our leads comes through word of mouth referrals or business networking.
Mm-hmm.
That's at the moment, they're the things that we're most successful in. One of the reasons I've started the podcast is that we identified that some of the people we work best with are marketing consultants who have their own little network of clients and can't deliver everything. So hence where the podcast came from. But we're trying to. We made a conscious decision in May that we were going to put together a marketing plan and basically treat ourselves as our own client. That lasted until May, and we still haven't properly picked that up. So we're now looking at actually, weirdly, getting in some external support to help us market ourselves so that we can keep on concentrating on what we're delivering for clients.
I think a lot of the time you're always focusing on delivering for the clients, which means it's very hard to treat yourself as the client, isn't it? And it's much easier to almost fire yourself and put the clients first. But I mean, at least you are networking, and at least the quality of your work is also generating ongoing referrals. So it's not like the pot's drying out. So that's good. But obviously, definitely establishing some sort of actual strategic marketing plan is something that any agency, I think, really needs to do, because I think we all know the feast and famine, don't we? Eventually that ongoing kind of untended to source of leads will eventually dry out unless we can start to like a garden, cultivate it. That was such a beautiful metaphor.
Absolutely.
Or is that a simile? I don't know.
I think
it
was
something. And it wasn't an onomatopoeia, though. I know that.
No, it definitely wasn't that. But part of the thing we've done to try and address that is about 2/3 of our revenue comes from retained income.
Yep.
So people are on, or clients are on a minimum term contract that then moves on to a monthly rolling contract.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, we have tried to level out a little bit that feast and famine cycle, so that we know, whilst we still experience it, we know that the famine won't drop below a particular point.
Yeah, you've got a base point there.
Yeah, so
that's good. All right. Well, as someone who's very ROI data orientated, I'm going to be interested in the answer to your question for this, which is, how do you measure success?
We make money when our clients make money. That's
right.
That's basically the way our model works.
Okay.
And so our success is very closely linked to the success of our clients. We have a number of team meetings a month, and one of the things we always discuss is to do with the basically the work balance, the work-life balance, and make sure that people aren't getting overloaded, and that they identify things that are coming up if people aren't going to be around, all that kind of stuff. But key to that is that there are some unmovable elements, which are, we have these retained clients that are paying us good money every month to grow their businesses, and this is what they are trying to achieve. What are we doing to make the steps for them so that we are helping them achieve their goals? And that isn't to say we're giving them business. Some of the steps we have to make is to challenge the client and say, you need to do this in order to help us help you get there, kind of thing. But that's our model is very much linked to the success of our clients.
Well, that's a really good answer. I like that. Okay, so confession time. I think you've already given it away, unless you can think of something else. But there's only me and a few thousand people listening in, so I'm pretty sure your secret will be safe. What is the biggest problem that you guys have? And if it was what you just said earlier, is there anything you can expand on? Spoiler freaking alert.
The biggest thing is the marketing, but we've touched on that. So I'll move to the second biggest thing. If that's all right.
Whew.
Which, as I've watched a number of your agency live things, and I know this has come up before, but it is to do with the management of the workflow.
Mm-hmm.
We have a reasonable size resource, but it is dependent upon, obviously there's only 4 of us that are actually full-time, we can guarantee on, kind of thing. So the management of the work through, we've had to work really hard on our project management processes, and I did a workshop for you in the ATB community. So if you're not part of that, please go and sign up for Lee's community. Oh, you can just feel the love, can't you? It's awesome. But we've had to work really hard on that particular episode is looking at a web design project. but we've got a number of those processes depending on the type of client and the types of services that they're using for us, but still managing those through and making sure we have the personnel. Every client wants to know, when is this going to be done? And that can become a challenge, particularly the bigger that you get and the more moving parts you've got to administer as you go through. So for us, that is that's the second biggest thing that I wouldn't say it's holding us back, but it's certainly one of the topics that we have to keep on revisiting and actually working quite hard on, so that we keep on delivering that quality for clients that we want to.
I think as well, because it's ever changing from client to client, it's trying to find that sort of process and those checks and balances, isn't it, that would work well enough for most projects and is flexible enough to change. But people often forget as well that a very important part of being able to scale your business for whatever the end result is, be it financial freedom or just be it time to chill, having a process or a procedure is super, super important to allow your business to scale. It's not just about being able to switch on extra resources. In fact, if you have amazing processes, you don't necessarily have to switch on all of those extra resources, i.e. all these extra people, because part of those processes, part of that documentation, part of what you do actually saves an awful lot of time and brings things right through.
Yeah,
all right, let's get off the boring business stuff for a bit then, because let's all face it, sometimes it can get a little bit boring when people start saying the word processes, and I can just hear it. We'll see a few eyes rolling, because I know I do sometimes. I'm like, oh, I've got to document a process. How boring is that? The problem is I've got this brain that kind of never switches off from the business. I really, really struggle. I love my business. I know you love your business, and you and me, pretty much when we hang out or we're mostly talking about business rather than anything else, much else. Like what a lovely, well, we probably talk about the weather because we're British. So for your well-being, mate, and for your brain sanity, how do you switch off?
So there's a few things. I've got two small children. We love spending time together. Family time is like top priority when it comes to not being at work. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other things that I do, I play the drums. I'm part of our local church, and I play the drums there. So that's a really good thing for helping me just not think about anything else. It becomes, I don't know how many of you guys are musicians, but being part of a music group, it's more about feeling than actual thought. And being a drummer, particularly when literally every arm and limb is doing something, it really kind of helps you just get out of that headspace and sort of engage in the moment. And then you know what you come out the other end of it, and you feel a bit more clear. Your head's in a far better space. So they're the kind of
not thinking return on investment whilst drumming during the worship.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay, interesting. Maybe I need to try that. So that's good. And then how do you stay healthy? Because frankly, we're stuck at our desks an awful lot. And obviously I saw that you did something crazy. So please share that as well with us.
I did stop this, spoiler alert. So I do some cycling. You can see I've got Fat Lads from Door across my gilet here.
Yep.
I'm part of a cycling club. A few friends and I do these charity bike rides. So 3 years ago, we cycled from London to Paris, and 3 weeks ago, we cycled from Paris to Geneva for a children's hospital charity. And Beautiful. We've raised, over the two events, we've raised about 93,000 quid.
That's insane. But it's also a great way to stay relatively healthy. Do you have to do a lot of practice for those, or are you one of those people who just goes ahead and does it without any practice?
Oh no! I have to practice.
Good. I figured you'd have to with the length that you had to bike, but I have known people to literally go and do 100 miles flat from never doing anything, and they've really struggled for the next 3 weeks afterwards to recover.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it. I mean, the challenges are multiple days. So the Paris to Geneva was 360 miles over 4 days. So you can't have the fatigue the following day. After day one, morning two, you have to get back on your bike. Yeah. And by the end of day four, you've got to remove the bike from your person, but it's the sense of achievement that you get, and the amount of money we've raised is phenomenal. When we started this in 2014, when we started planning the first trip, we had no idea of the scale of anything. It was just 5 dads then that were trying to make a bit of a difference for a hospital that all of our kids had some level of engagement with. there's now 9 of us, and we've done it twice, and it's, we're really proud about the amount of money we've raised, not in a big-headed way, but just that it feels good to give something back. And also, if I tie this back to a personal thing, the whole point of a lifestyle business, the whole point of running your own business where you can have a lifestyle that you choose, I think it's good to have focal points that are bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
As I said, family is definitely number one, but when it comes to something like the bike rides, it took me away from my kids for 6 days, but what is the example that I've left with my children? What am I trying to demonstrate to them? And one of the things that was most touching was from the first bike ride, the Children's Hospital were building this big extension, and if we raised over a certain amount of money, we could sponsor a room, and we hit that amount of money. So when we got to Paris, we had a caricaturist do a caricature of all 5 of us, and that hangs in the room, and we got to choose the color scheme and all that kind of stuff. And one of the donors that sent us a donation about 3 weeks before we went to Paris to Geneva, his grandson was the second ever patient in our room.
Wow.
And for him to contact us and say, look guys, here's a check. My little boy really, or my grandson really appreciated and really benefited from the effort you guys put in a few years ago. Here's some cash to help you towards this one. That just floors you. That's
amazing. I'm getting goosebumps just listening to the entire story, mate. It's incredible. And I think as well, by doing something that's bigger than yourself, especially with regards to the way you're raising this money is through biking, you're getting the extra, selfishly, you're getting the benefit of the physical exercise. I think sometimes it's nearly impossible, isn't it, to motivate ourselves to go and do something that's good for us. But it's very motivating to go and do something that's going to help other people. So you're helping yourself whilst achieving this much greater, much bigger, beyond yourself goal, which is to really impact those lives of those children. And all power to you, and well done, mate. I was watching. I love social media, and your wife was posting regular updates, as were you. It was brilliant just watching the whole process. So, yeah.
I won't lie, there were some very dark moments when you're going up another hill and got to keep your legs going round in circles. But when we got to Lake Geneva, and our families flew out and met us there, and they were stood there with some champagne, and they gave us a big hug, and the kids all gave you a hug. It just that's the moment that you can't buy, that money can't replace.
Top tip: do not down a glass of champagne after 300 odd miles of biking.
No, don't down one, down about 4. It's
I once did that after a marathon, and I won't tell you what the result was. All right, so we're coming into land. This is the last question, and you have to be really, really good on this, mate, because some of our guests have broken the rules and mentioned several tools. I would love if you could think of and share with us one tool. It could be an application, it could be a physical utensil. I have no idea, but is there one tool, one thing that has been essential to your agency's success? And why?
Yes. And it's not a web development tool or a digital marketing tool or anything like that, but it is our finance software.
Oh.
The ability, you see, and I've been watching your guys, and they're all saying, oh, Beaver builder this and Yoast SEO that and this and that. And you kind of, those things are great. And I use them all the time.
Yeah, because they were going to punch you otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you said those things are great. Carry on.
But the thing that's made the biggest difference to our business has been having finance software that key people in the company can use, so it's not tied to one person. B, automates a lot of the process so that we don't have to worry about chasing late payments or sending reminders, this, that, and the other, and notifies us when it has found a problem. And C, allows us to take the recurring payments. So we use Xero. I suppose I'm going to mention two apps here. We use Xero connected with GoCardless. So Xero is the finance software and GoCardless is the direct debit software. We tie the two together into one seamless application, and we can then, it sends invoices out for retainers, and we take the payment 14 days later, and no human interaction is needed. And that has
predominantly the tool, therefore, is Xero, but obviously you can have an add-on that plugs into that. I think that's the same with most platforms, is that you can have multiple add-ons like Stripe or whatever added into, or a CRM system. But I I'm not surprised by your answer, I guess, because you are very much data-driven anyway as a business, looking at the ROI, also looking at the finances, but also process-driven. And Xero is a very good platform for that, isn't it? If you send out a quote and then the client can automatically accept and pay a deposit, and then it will do some sort of timing for your next payment and all that sort of stuff. That's the sort of thing I think that really gets you, Mr. Uber Geek, very excited and very happy. But also it's very good for a scalable business if, again, you can have all of those tools to automate all of those things. It means you're not spending loads of money on accountants, and it means you're not doing it yourself, because it's really boring, isn't it, if you have to do it yourself?
The thing that would make it perfect would be if it would hook into teamwork projects, and when we hit milestones of the project, it would then ping out next invoice status.
That would be phenomenal.
That would make it perfect. So I'm not saying it's the perfect.
You can't do some sort of like Zapier integration for that or something.
Yeah, I know it would be good. But that would make it perfect. So I'm not saying it's completely flawless, but for the question I've got is, name the tool that has been essential to your agency success, and that actually, as boring as it may sound, is it. No,
that's a really, really good answer, mate. You're a complete legend. Folks, don't forget to check out Pete's podcast, which you can find on
PeteEveritt.com/podcast, or search your favorite podcast player for the Marketing Development Podcast.
Love it when you say that.
I'm going to send you an audio file. I'm going to send you an audio file.
It'll be my ringtone whenever you call me. So that. Obviously, don't forget as well to go to agencytrailblazer.com and go and have a look at Pete's previous episode. I feel like you've been on at least twice.
I have.
This is at least your third. So go and check out Pete's episodes, because he always shares really valuable advice and is always very clear. Obviously, I recommend you go ahead and check out his podcast. If you're not a member of the Agency Trailblazer Facebook group, then you can find that on agencytrailblazer.com/group. Pete, you have been wonderful as always. Thank you for your time. It is time for you to get out of here. I mean, goodbye and God bless. That's what I'm.
Are we on the celebrity or something? Is there going to be fireworks going off in my office? Yeah. I get some champagne.
Or what I would really love to do with agency life would be like, when in tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be, and then they name the star they're going to be, and then they walk through the mist, and they've been magically transformed into said singer. That I would love to do something like that for agency life. I just can't work out how to work it in, and the Americans will have no idea what I'm talking about now. Oh, you could have come out of the cupboard, couldn't you? Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
And tonightly, I am going to be Paul Lacey. Come on, we've got to get that out.
Well, yeah, just because he's your man crush. Yeah, we know. All right, so this is the official goodbye. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.